beautifully, and that message has not yet gotten out in a really interesting way. So I think it's really important for all of us to think about how we do that and how we get the word out that humanitarian design is really just good design. It's not about, giving things away. It's not about being kind. It's about just doing good work where it's needed, and inventive work, the kind of inventive work that designers and architects are capable of doing. So, and that needs to be part of the cultural dialogue.
I couldn't agree more. It is amazing what design can do in these solutions. So, and it is a statement you haven't heard out there as much within this. So, and I think too that technology does allow everything that through stories and through different things online, it's starting to add so much more to the following of people that can draw others into this.
Got it. Yeah.
So, well, Susan, can you provide some input in regards to the reaction from the A&D community towards this shift to humanitarian design and architecture?
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting to watch the A&D community because there is an organization called Public Architecture which has 1% for Art program, and what they do is they sign up, they advocate for pro bono, in other words, for the public good kind of design with large firms especially, but small firms also. And large firms like Perkins and Will and Gensler have signed up for that 1% program. And what they do is that, when you have such a large firm with so many members, when they put together the numbers of people who might work on a pro bono project that, let's say, a school or some sort of community center or something, or a clinic, that they actually have a pretty substantial mid-sized office worth of architects and designers working on projects like that. So their contribution is huge, and in that case, in that pro bono world, there's a lot of development right now. In fact, we're just about to publish a book called The Power of Pro Bono, written by the Executive Director of Public Architecture, because there's everything from playgrounds to clinics to schools that are absolutely beautiful projects that were done as a contribution of services or partial contribution of architecture and product services. But what's interesting about pro bono is the learning aspect and the kind of professional development aspect for the designers who are doing this, and they all say this, is that they learned how to collaborate with their clients better. They meet people who, when you design a school, then that's a great job. You know that you're going to get the attention of the school board, who are very powerful people, who are sources for other jobs, perhaps, whether it's personal or whether it's school-oriented. So, I mean, it's a very complex and really well-connected idea of doing good and doing well at the same time. And I just think that it's not giving it away. It's placing your skills where they are needed, and then somehow being smart enough as a manager of your firm to benefit all of your firm through these activities. So I think that is very much part of it. I think a lot of firms right now are taking jobs that are less lucrative than they used to be, because there aren't those big jobs anymore, and they are looking very carefully at their new clients. And I hear a lot of firms trying to figure out how to reuse existing things and upgrading them and making them better and bringing them up to high performance. So I mean, there's a lot of activity here, and it's also, the large firms are very interesting to me because they decide that they want to take on these jobs, these more humanitarian jobs, in order to keep their young members. Because the young architects and designers in those firms are looking for meaning in their lives, and this is not sort of a throwaway remark. This defines a whole generation coming into those offices, and the larger firms especially know that they have to keep these people occupied and interested and challenged emotionally, as well as culturally as well as professionally. So this kind of work is, in fact, beneficial to the whole firm, in addition to being beneficial to the people who get their places designed for them.
Yes, well, it's definitely both beneficial and rewarding. That's very good points.
I would like to add something, if that's okay. This is Barb.
And Barb, just to know, can you speak up a little bit? I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I want to make sure everyone else can as well. Thanks.
I just wanted to add to what Susan was saying, and I think from the nonprofit perspective, we partner with a lot of large firms because they oftentimes have expertise and tools that we don't have. So, for example, right now in Haiti, we have been partnering with our local Arab office, and they have been invaluable. We've held design charrettes with their staff who have set aside, a Friday afternoon, and they're contributing their time pro bono. And, we've made a lot of progress just thinking together about some of the challenges that we're going to face as we start rebuilding. And, we could never do that by ourselves because we don't have the tools that they have. Or we could do it, but it would take us a lot longer. So I think that there are really good partnerships, and it's nice to see that, the organization versus the company, it's a partnership. They're not in competition. They're working together, and just as we benefit from it, like Susan was saying, it's a really great thing to offer their employees for employee growth. And, employees could work on a project, and maybe in a few months they get to go to Haiti to see, the fruits of their work. And I think that that's really rewarding.
Definitely rewarding.
I'd love to add something here, too, which is, I think I might have alluded to this, but I think it's really worth repeating, is that when it used to be that, on many times, even on big corporate jobs, that designers would come in with a solution without real collaboration with their clients, and yes, they would get obviously some of the basics of what the client needed, but they didn't really know their clients. Well, when you do the kind of work that Barb is talking about, I think what that Architecture for Humanity does, you can't do it without the client. The client determines exactly what you need to design and how, what they need, and that is a hugely, hugely educational part of the design profession, because that listening, that analyzing, that thinking in ways of real needs instead of something that you come up with because you feel that this is the way you could help them, is incredibly important to the profession's development, professional development.
That's very true, and it adds a lot to the community as well. Dana, can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I have seen, and at Function, our job is, we go out and we talk to the A&D community, but usually it's more of the smaller to mid-sized firms. So I think from their standpoint, I was talking to an architect this morning, and I was asking him about humanitarianism in architecture, and he says, what does that really mean? It means so many different things to different architects at different levels, and it was just really interesting that he'd had some interaction with a lot of the similar organizations to Architecture for Humanity and similar ones, and and he was saying it really is about bringing good design regardless of region, environment, communities, and that we all deserve that. And he mentioned that it's not something, again, he mentioned it's not something new, and but he also said, and I've heard this from other architectural firms and in the A&D community, that you have to also look at the situation and their time, and budgets are tight and they don't have a lot of time, so everybody kind of does what they can, but I think they still all want to contribute somehow. And what we do too at Function is we work with the building product manufacturers, and they're always coming to us saying, how can we get involved? And that's kind of a touchy situation where marketing is concerned, because it's for not for profit, or when you're in the disaster zone, you have to be very careful. But I always say that it's what a positive thing to have your brand tied into these positive efforts, so that positive brand recognition is, is kind of where they would fit in.
That's a good point. I think it really can bring everybody together if everybody can, do something so rewarding for these communities. So thank you for that. The next question is, how can the industry get involved from architects to BPMs? Dana, can you kind of expand on where you were going with that last?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to what I was saying, it's kind of like guilty by association, but, let's all be guilty by doing good in the industry. And, we all want that. I think right now in this economy, we all have just struggled so much, and we want something positive. And, we do things like we have a client we worked on a project with, actually for Architecture for Humanity, geared towards the A&D community, and we wanted to help get the A&D community involved, and the result was a product donation to a project in Haiti, and the value was that everybody benefited, everybody felt good. The school in Haiti got what they needed, and the company involved got a lot of brand recognition with that great project, and everybody benefited in that. So it was a win-win for all parties. And honestly, not to mention the amazing media coverage that was generated that benefits everybody too.
I'd like to add something to that also, is that I think it's more than, I think it's really great that manufacturers are able to give their product to be helpful on certain projects. But I think it's much bigger than that, because I think that people like Bill Ford, for instance, is pushing for an American industrial policy where things can be made here again, so that communities are employed, and it's about jobs. And let's say a manufacturer has a process or a product or a widget or something that could be made locally instead of shipping it to China or somewhere. And I think there's plenty of global commerce that's available, but there's got to be a way that manufacturers look at what's in their own backyard. How do they support the communities that live around them, and how do they create jobs that provide livelihood? So I think that kind of local sort of making things and not shipping them far, far away, that is one of the points in the LEED marking system, that it needs to be 500-mile radius available. I think that that's also helping a lot of people to kind of think about, well, what is it that we can do in our manufacturing process that can add to the local economies, which means that maybe semi-skilled or newly skilled people can be developed and supported locally, so that there is not so much poverty and unemployment in certain areas, especially in the Rust Belt areas where there's some really interesting facilities that are lying fallow, and they're turning them into really great condos instead of trying to figure out how to make them work as bring back some light manufacturing, whatever it is. So I think that should be at the center of thinking of any manufacturer. The question is, what is possible to make here?
That's very true. And having been working with that, with a lot of building product manufacturers over the past, many years, it's amazing on our end to see that movement, because it makes even the work that we're doing for them feel so much better. And I think that you see a lot more people trying to come up with ways that they can create more, recycled products and so forth that can be reused and repurposed. So that's very motivating as well. Barb, do you want to add?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that, exactly what Susan was saying, we look at the same thing in the communities that we work in, because if, there are certain skills, like woodworking skills, metalworking skills, or any kind of skills that we can employ the community members to produce whatever is needed for the building locally, not only because of the ecological footprint, but also to bring